Men, let's talk about the bedroom. Not about how big it is, not the color of your sheets, and not even how your body looks when the lights go out. I want to talk about the one place where all masks disappear, where ego takes a back seat, and where the truth about who you really are comes to the surface. Because here's the reality. What you do in the bedroom speaks louder than your car, your bank account, or your social media profile ever could. Women don't just remember what you did. They remember how you made them feel. The bedroom isn't a stage to perform on. It's the most honest mirror of your character. The men women remember, the men they value, the men they talk about long after it's over, are not the ones who come in with loud confidence or flashy tricks. They are the ones who bring presence, depth, and emotional connection. If you've ever wondered why some men leave a mark on a woman's heart long after the night ends, it's not about size, techniques, or performance. It's about something much deeper. And today, I'm going to share 6 things men who truly stand out in the bedroom do differently. Things that separate boys from men, players from kings, and shallow moments from unforgettable connections. Men, hear this clearly. Women don't remember performances. They remember presence. Too many men have been fooled thinking intimacy is all about techniques, about learning special moves or lasting longer than the next guy. You watch videos, you listen to locker room talk, you compare yourself to men you'll never meet. And because of all this, you go into the bedroom carrying pressure, anxiety, and a mental checklist to prove yourself, instead of going in with a heart ready to connect. Here's the truth. Women don't crave performance. They crave presence. Presence is when you slow down enough to actually notice her, not just touch her. Presence is when you're not worrying about what's next. You're not trying to impress. You're not stuck in your head. You're there, in that moment, fully with her, like nothing else in the world exists. When a man is truly present, a woman feels it in her soul. She feels seen, valued, cherished. She doesn't feel like just a body for your release. She feels like the only woman in your world. And that is something she will never forget. Think about this. When was the last time you looked into a woman's eyes and stayed there long enough for her to feel exposed? Not just physically, but emotionally. When was the last time you touched her in a way that wasn't rushed, that wasn't about reaching some goal, but simply about enjoying her? Presence means you're not distracted by your phone, your ego, or your insecurities. It means you're not comparing yourself to someone else. It means you've shut out the noise of the world and given her your complete attention. That kind of focus is rare today, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. Because here's what most men don't realize: performance fades. Techniques get old, tricks are forgotten, but the memory of a man who made her feel deeply connected, safe, and important, that stays forever. So stop worrying about whether you're enough. Stop stressing about how you compare to someone else. The most magnetic men are not the ones with the best performance. They are the ones who bring the deepest presence. If you want to stand out in the bedroom, if you want to be the man she remembers years later, stop focusing on the moves. Focus on her. Be present. That is where real power lies. Men, listen closely. Before passion, before pleasure, before anything physical, there must be safety. And I'm not just talking about physical safety. I'm talking about emotional safety. Because here's the truth. No matter how confident or strong she seems in public, when a woman steps into intimacy, she is vulnerable. She is opening herself up, and the kind of man you are in that moment will decide whether she opens fully or shuts down. Emotional safety means she doesn't feel judged. It means she doesn't feel pressured. It means she can let go completely without fearing that you'll use her body and ignore her heart. And this is where so many men fail. They chase the physical side of intimacy without building the emotional foundation first. They want the outcome without creating the right environment. But here's the secret: when a woman feels emotionally safe with you, she will give you a side of herself no one else ever sees. She will trust you. She will relax. She will allow the connection to flow naturally, without fear or walls. That's when intimacy turns real. So, how do you create that safety? It's in your tone. It's in your patience. It's in how you respond when she hesitates. It's in the way you touch her, slowly, gently, with intention, showing her she's not just a body, but a person you value. It's in how you reassure her, not with big, dramatic words, but with calm, consistent energy. A man who makes a woman feel safe becomes unforgettable because safety is so rare today. Most men rush, demand, or make her feel like she owes them something. But the man who says, "You don't need to perform here. You don't need to hide here. You are safe with me," that man stands apart. Understand this. Pleasure without safety is temporary. But intimacy with safety lasts forever. She may forget the details. She may forget the night, but she will never forget the man who made her feel protected, valued, and seen. Gentlemen, before you think about passion, think about safety. Build that space. Earn that trust, because the most powerful intimacy doesn't come from your body. It comes from the security you give her heart. Men, confidence is attractive. Arrogance destroys everything. Too many men get the two confused. They think being loud, aggressive, or trying to control every moment is confidence. They puff their chest, act like they have to prove something, and try to dominate the whole experience. But here's the truth. A woman can sense arrogance instantly, and it kills intimacy fast. Confidence, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need validation. It shows up in the calmness of your touch, the steadiness of your presence, the way you carry yourself. Confidence whispers. Arrogance screams, and women always lean into the whisper. The most unforgettable men are not trying to dominate or impress. They already know who they are. They know what they bring. They don't need to prove themselves with flashy performances, and they don't need to seek approval. That self-assurance allows them to focus on her. Confidence also means not being shaken by mistakes. If something awkward happens, a confident man doesn't panic. He doesn't get angry. He laughs, keeps things light, and reassures her. That steadiness makes her trust him more. Confidence is not about being perfect. It's about being grounded. Arrogance takes. Confidence gives. Arrogance says, "Look at me. Prove to me that I'm enough." Confidence says, "I already know I'm enough. Let me show you that you matter too." Women feel that difference instantly. Who do you want to be remembered as? The man who demanded respect, or the man whose calm presence made her feel desired without pressure? Forced respect never lasts. Respect earned through confidence stays forever. The strongest men in the bedroom carry quiet confidence without arrogance. They don't try to prove anything. They just are. And women never forget that energy. Now here's another truth. Women speak 1,000 languages in the bedroom, and very few of them are verbal. The men who leave an impact are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who listen. Not just with their ears, but with their eyes, their hands, and their full awareness. Listening without words means noticing the small things, the change in her breathing, the way her body leans in or tenses up, the way her eyes close when something feels right. Most men miss these signals because they're trapped in their own heads thinking about performance. But the men she remembers, they notice. They adjust when her body tells them to. They slow down when she needs softness. They move closer when she invites connection. And they do all this without her saying a single word. That is not just intimacy. That is mastery. Women don't want to feel like they're teaching a class or giving instructions. They want a man who is so tuned in, so present, that he can read her energy naturally. That kind of attentiveness makes her feel not only desired but deeply understood. Listening doesn't mean doing nothing. It's an active skill. It means you're fully engaged, moving with her, not against her. It means you care enough to notice the little things. When a man listens without words, he communicates something powerful. I see you. I feel you. I value you. And women never forget men who make them feel that way. So stop rehearsing what to say. Stop thinking you need perfect lines. True connection happens in the quiet moments, when nothing is said, but everything is felt. Men, learn to listen without words. That's how you create intimacy that stays in her heart forever. But you know what shocked me the most that night? It wasn't just the chaos around me, or the way everything seemed to spiral out of control in minutes. It was how fast a single decision could change the whole direction of your life. One moment, you feel like you're holding the strings, controlling everything, and the next, life shows you that you were never really in charge. That night taught me more than any book or lecture ever could. It taught me that sometimes life takes away the plans you carefully made because there's something else waiting for you. Something you can't see yet, but it's already coming your way. As I stood there, surrounded by flashing lights and raised voices, I felt like time slowed down. It was as if the world wanted me to pay attention, to notice every little thing. The smell of the air, the way the ground felt under my feet, the sound of people arguing, it was like my senses were on fire. And somewhere deep inside, I realized this night was going to stay with me forever. You see, people often talk about big moments in life, but they forget to mention the small, invisible shifts that happen inside you when everything outside falls apart. That night, I felt something inside me crack open, not in a bad way, but in a way that made me see things differently. I realized how fragile everything is, how fast people change, how quickly trust can turn into doubt, how love can turn into silence. It shook me because until then, I thought I understood people. I thought I understood myself. But life has a way of showing you that you only see a small part of the story until something forces you to look deeper. Later that night, when things finally calmed down, I sat alone and thought about everything that happened. My mind replayed every word, every look, every moment like a movie stuck on repeat. It was strange how something that felt like a disaster just hours ago now felt like a door opening to another version of me. A version that was more awake, more alive, and maybe a little less naive. Because here's the thing, sometimes chaos comes to clear the path, sometimes heartbreak comes to break the walls you didn't even know you had around your heart. Sometimes losing control is the only way to learn how to really live. That night taught me that you can't on to people or moments too tightly, because life will keep moving whether you're ready or not. And the more you try to control it, the harder it becomes to breathe. I didn't know it then, but that night was the start of a new chapter. A chapter where I stopped trying to please everyone. A chapter where I learned that not everyone who smiles at you is your friend, and not everyone who walks away is your enemy. A chapter where I finally understood that peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from learning to stand still when the world is spinning. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all, because when you stop running after people, after answers, after approval, something amazing happens. You start hearing your own voice again. You start feeling your own heartbeat. You start noticing the things you used to miss because you were too busy chasing what was never meant to stay. That night broke something in me, but it also built something new, something stronger, something quieter. And maybe that's what life does. It breaks you to shape you, takes away to give you more, confuses you to teach you what really matters. I walked out of that night with a heart that was bruised but awake, with eyes that finally saw difference between real and fake, and with a soul that was tired of noise but hungry for truth. In the days that followed, I noticed something strange. The world around me looked the same streets, same faces, same routine, but it didn't feel the same anymore. It was like that night had peeled away a layer of my old self, and now everything felt sharper, clearer, almost too real. The things I used to ignore suddenly felt loud. The little lies people told, the fake smiles, the way some people only show up when they need something. It all became obvious, like someone had turned on a bright light in a dark room. I realized how much energy I had wasted trying to fix things that were never mine to fix. How many times I had stayed silent just to keep the peace, while a storm raged inside me. That night taught me that staying quiet for too long doesn't make you strong. Sometimes it just makes you invisible. And I was done being invisible. It's funny how one chaotic night can change the way you see everything. I started noticing how people treat you when they can't use you anymore, how quick they are to disappear when things get hard, and how loud their silence becomes when you finally stop giving. It hurt, but it also set me free. Because once you see the truth, you can't go back to pretending. I began to understand that peace isn't about avoiding pain or controlling everything around you. Real peace comes when you finally stop fighting what life is trying to teach you. When you let go of the idea that people owe you honesty, or loyalty, or love. When you accept that sometimes people leave, sometimes promises break, sometimes life doesn't go the way you wanted. And that's okay. That night was the moment I stopped waiting for closure. I stopped waiting for explanations that were never coming. I stopped replaying conversations in my head, trying to find the moment things went wrong. Instead, I started giving myself the things I kept hoping to get from others: respect, kindness, forgiveness, and a little patience. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Sometimes the person you need to save is yourself. Sometimes the apology you're waiting for has to come from you. And sometimes the love you keep giving to everyone else has to be turned inward, so you can finally heal. The world didn't suddenly become soft or gentle after that night. People didn't magically turn honest or loyal. Life didn't stop throwing challenges my way, but something inside me shifted. I learned to walk away without explaining myself. I learned to stay silent, not because I was weak, but because I finally understood not every battle deserves my energy. I learned that sometimes disappearing is the loudest thing you can do. And slowly, I stopped chasing things that were never meant for me. I stopped trying to hold on to people who showed me, again and again, that they didn't want to stay. I stopped breaking my own heart just to keep someone else comfortable. That night didn't just change me. It woke me up. It taught me that pain is not always the enemy. Sometimes pain is the teacher. Sometimes heartbreak is the map that points you back to yourself. And sometimes losing what you thought you needed the most is the only way to find what your soul was searching for all along. As the days turned into weeks, I began to notice something inside me that felt different. Like a quiet strength was slowly building where the cracks used to be. At first, I thought maybe I was just getting used to the pain, learning to live with it, the way people learn to live with an old scar. But then I realized it wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about changing. About becoming someone new. Someone who wouldn't go back to the old ways even if given the chance. I started to see how much energy I had wasted in the past running after people who didn't value me, chasing their approval like it was oxygen, bending myself into shapes that didn't even feel like me just to be accepted. That night ripped the mask off. It showed me that some people only love the version of you that makes their life easier. They love you when you give, when you stay quiet, when you ask for nothing in return. But the moment you start choosing yourself, the moment you stop shrinking to keep them comfortable, their love fades, and their true colors show. It was hard at first, letting go of people I thought would always be there. It felt like tearing away pieces of my own heart. But with time, I saw that losing them wasn't really a loss at all. It was life clearing space for something better. Peace, clarity, real connections that didn't come with conditions. I realized that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some people come into your life only to teach you how to stand up for yourself, and then their part in your story ends. The pain comes when we try to drag them into chapters where they don't belong anymore. So I stopped fighting for places where I had to beg to be chosen. I stopped sending long messages explaining my worth to people who already showed me they didn't care. I stopped pouring my heart into hands that couldn't even hold it properly. And the moment I stopped, the weight began to lift. It's strange, isn't it? How you can spend so much time trying to keep people from leaving, only to discover that the real freedom comes when you open the door for them yourself. When you let them go without bitterness, without needing revenge or closure. Just a quiet acceptance that some things are not meant to stay. And in that space, when the noise fades, you finally hear the truth you've been running from all along. You were never broken. You were never too much or not enough. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't see your value because they were too blind, too busy, or too small to hold it. That night, the one that felt like the end of everything, became the beginning of a life where I no longer begged for love. Where I no longer explained my worth. Where I no longer carried people who wouldn't even walk beside me. I learned to walk lighter, to speak less, to watch more. I learned that sometimes silence is not emptiness. It's power. It's choosing not to waste your voice where it won't be heard. Choosing not to fight battles that only drain you. Choosing yourself even when it feels lonely at first. Because loneliness with self-respect is better than company that makes you feel small. Peace of mind is worth more than being surrounded by people who clap for you in public but root for your failure in private. That night taught me to let life take things away without always demanding to know why. To trust that sometimes unanswered prayers are just protection in disguise. To believe that the pain you feel today might be the very thing that leads you to the peace you've been searching for all your life. As time passed, I started to see the beauty in everything that had fallen apart. It's strange how life works. The very things you once thought would destroy you end up shaping you into someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who finally knows how to protect their own peace. That night, the one that felt like the end of the world, slowly began to feel like the beginning of my freedom. I began to notice little things I had missed before. The quiet of early mornings, the way the sun slowly rises and paints the sky even after the darkest night. The laughter of people who had no idea what storms I had been through. It made me realize that life keeps moving, no matter what breaks inside you. And if life refuses to stop, then maybe I should too. Maybe I should stop holding on to what's gone, stop replaying the past in my mind, stop carrying stories that no longer deserve a place in my heart. That night taught me that healing isn't loud. It doesn't happen with big announcements or dramatic changes. It happens slowly, quietly, in the small choices you make every day. Like choosing to forgive yourself for staying too long where you weren't valued. Choosing to walk away, instead of fighting to be understood by people who were never listening. Choosing to rest instead of proving your worth to those who already made up their minds about you. And the more I chose myself, the lighter I began to feel. I realized that peace isn't about controlling the world around you. It's about no longer letting the world control what's inside you. It's about learning to stay calm even when people disappoint you, learning to smile even when things don't go as planned, learning to keep your heart soft even when life tries to turn it cold. I stopped expecting people to be who they weren't capable of being. I stopped expecting life to always make sense, and in that surrender, I found something I had been searching for all along: freedom. Freedom from needing constant answers. Freedom from chasing love where it wasn't being given. Freedom from fighting battles that only left me empty. I began to see that not everyone who leaves your life is a loss. Some departures are blessings. Some goodbyes are the very thing that save you from living a life smaller than the one you were meant for. And maybe that's what growth really is. Not becoming harder or colder, but learning to see endings without bitterness. To see pain without letting it define you, to see people's true colors without letting it poison your heart. I started to thank the night that once broke me, because it also rebuilt me. It taught me to stop begging for love and start creating it inside myself. It taught me that my worth doesn't shrink just because someone else couldn't see it. It taught me that sometimes the storms after the storm is the loudest message you'll ever hear from life itself. Telling you it's time to rise. To start over, to finally become the person you were afraid to be before everything fell apart. So here I am now, no longer chasing, no longer begging, no longer waiting for someone to choose me. I have chosen myself. I have chosen peace. I have chosen to let the past be the past and let the future come as it will, without fear, without resistance. Because if one night could break me and still lead me here, then maybe everything really does happen for a reason. Even the pain. Even the heartbreak, even the chaos that leaves you trembling in the dark.